Namaskar. Hello to all of you once again. It is sheer happiness that we are back with our bouquet of beautiful artists, dancers and speakers for Utsav's annual dance festival, Saare Jahan Se Accha. I am sure we are all reliving the overwhelming memories and moments of the festival that has hosted most of the eminent artists, outstanding dancers and gurus of the country. Each personality, each artist is special to us and is loved and appreciated by all in the audience and the media. I would like to thank them for making this festival a special one by their support and presentation of beautiful choreographies. Today we are presenting this festival online for reasons that you all are familiar with. But because the show must go on, we are back with you to celebrate this 15th edition of Saare Jahan Se Accha. I would also like to thank all the artists and the speakers of this year for consenting to perform online presentation of Saare Jahan Se Accha, a festival that pays artistic tribute to the nation on its Independence Day celebrations. I hope you all enjoy it. Namaskar.
जब जब हम आसमान में स्वतंत्र भारत के झंडे को उन्मुक्तता और स्वच्छंदता से लहराता देखते हैं, हमारा सर गर्व से ऊंचा हो जाता है और हम याद करते हैं स्वतंत्रता के कवियों और कलाकारों को, जिन्होंने अपने लेखन से और प्रस्तुतियों से प्रेरित किया असंख्य स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों को। हम स्वतंत्रता का जश्न मनाते हैं आज के कलाकारों के साथ। नमस्कार। On behalf of Srimati Ranjana Gauhar and Utsav, I welcome you to the second evening of the 3-day dance festival, Saare Jahan Se Accha, celebrating the spirit of freedom. Padmashree and Sangeet Natak Academy Awardee Ranjana Gauhar stands tall in the world of Odissi today. Srimati Ranjana Gauhar ने आजीवन कला की सेवा की है और अपने योगदान से शैली को समृद्धि प्रदान की है। एक संरचनाकार के रूप में आपने अपनी मौलिक रचनाओं से ओडिसी नृत्य की सीमाओं का विस्तार किया है। She has authored a book titled Odissi, the Dance Divine, and has produced documentaries and serials on Odissi and other classical dance forms. Utsav was founded 33 years ago by Ranjana to preserve, promote, and propagate India's rich and vast performing arts. Utsav endeavors to create further awareness of these arts by organizing annual events such as seminars on Odissi music, an international dance festival for established artists, Unbound Beats of India, Sutaran, a young dancers festival to celebrate World Dance Day, and Saare Jahan Se Accha in the month of August, where eminent and senior dancers celebrate the spirit of India's independence. Utsav is proud to have disciples who have won appreciation at several events and festivals held in India and abroad. Many students of Utsav have received national scholarships. Due to the pandemic, the festival is online, and we are using this platform to connect with artists worldwide and using the beauty of music and dance, which is full of rasa and bhav, to bond people together.
जय जगन्नाथ। उत्सव एजुकेशनल एंड कल्चरल सोसाइटी और रंजना ओडिसी डांस एकेडमी की तरफ से 15वां सारे जहां से अच्छा फेस्टिवल आयोजित किया जा रहा है, जो कि भारत के स्वतंत्रता दिवस को समर्पित है। उसके लिए मैं उत्सव एजुकेशनल एंड कल्चरल सोसाइटी और रंजना जी का धन्यवाद करता हूँ। इसी उत्सव में मेरे और मेरे शिष्यों द्वारा प्रस्तुति दी गई है, उसके लिए मैं रंजना जी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। और महाप्रभु श्री जगन्नाथ जी से मेरी प्रार्थना है कि सारे जहां से अच्छा 2020 सफल हो। मेरी शुभकामनाएं। जय जगन्नाथ।
I'm very happy to have been part of the Saare Jahan Se Accha festival, beautifully curated by eminent dancer, guru, choreographer Ranjana Gauhar. Many brilliant artists have featured in this festival in the past, and looking forward to seeing many wonderful dancers from the younger generation in the future. Great initiative, Ranjana. Keep up the wonderful work.
Namaskar. Utsav Educational and Cultural Society, Ranjana Ji's Odissi Dance Academy, celebrates 15 glorious years of its festival. Saare Jahan Se Accha, a festival dedicated to India independence. I thank Utsav and Ranjana Ji for not only having me, but also my disciple part of this prestigious festival. I wish Utsav and Ranjana Ji all the very best for Saare Jahan Se Accha 2020. Namaskar.
Namah Shivaya cha Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya cha Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya.
आज के कार्यक्रम में हम प्रस्तुत कर रहे हैं पहले दिव्या गोस्वामी का कथक नृत्य। आपको लखनऊ घराने के कथक में शिक्षा गुरु योगिनी गांधी से प्राप्त हुई। आजकल आप सुविख्यात कथक गुरु मुन्ना शुक्ला के शिष्यत्व में नृत्य की बारीकियों में प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त कर रहे हैं। नृत्य और नृत्य पर आपका पूर्ण अधिकार है। Divya Goswami has been performing as well as imparting training to students for over 15 years. She has performed at numerous concerts and has conducted lecture demonstrations in India and abroad. Divya has been honored with many awards, which include the title of Shringar Mani and Nritya Shiromani and the Ustad Bismillah Khan Yuva Puraskar of Sangeet Natak Academy. She is an empaneled artist of ICCR and a graded artist of Doordarshan.
Krita Smaraya Vikrita Smaraya.
I, Divya Goswami, exponent of Kathak, have been extremely blessed to receive guidance in the Lucknow Gharana of Kathak by the legendary gurus Guru Shri Munna Shukla Ji and Srimati Yogini Gandhi. I also seek the blessings of my Manasik Guru, Srimati Kamalini. It is my extreme honor to be a part of Saare Jahan Se Accha and its 15th year of celebration. This beautiful festival is hosted by Padmashree Ranjana Gauhar ji and her society, Utsav Education and Cultural Society.
Divya Goswami begins her recital with a tarana in Rag Kalavati. It is in Teen Tal Drutle.
Dhit 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 dhit
Next is a Jhula, a composition of Bindadin Maharaj. This is in Rag Des, set to Rupak Tal. दिव्या जी, आपकी प्रस्तुति के लिए आपका बहुत धन्यवाद। एक प्रस्तुति को मंच पर उभारने के लिए बहुत लोगों का योगदान रहता है, जैसे कि लाइट डिजाइनर, साउंड इंजीनियर, और प्रस्तुति को लेंस में कैप्चर करके इसे डॉक्यूमेंट और पब्लिसाइज करने में अहम भूमिका निभाते हैं वीडियोग्राफर्स और फोटोग्राफर्स। We at Utsav feel it is important for a dancer to have an insight to these aspects that enhance a presentation and also acknowledge those who work behind the scenes to promote dancers and their art. Today we will have a short talk on editing for dance by Sidharth Daniels. Sidharth Daniels is a filmmaker, animator, and VFX artist who has worked on documentaries, corporate films, and fiction short films. He was the creative director of the dance drama Nal Damayanti, where animated characters and backgrounds, along with live action classical dancers, perform together to create a unique visual experience. He has taught stop motion animation to K-12 children for close to a decade. More recently, under the banner of his own workshop program, Animation Workshop. So it's over to Sidharth Daniels.
Hello, my name is Sidharth Daniels, and I work in film and animation. Today, I'll be talking about film and what are some of the things that dancers need to focus on while they're shooting their video. Some simple settings, techniques, and processes that can help you make better videos. I think my introduction by Sadhna ji was all really there is, but the reason why, to answer the question why I entered the field, I wanted to tell stories, and I was always mesmerized with cinema, so it was the only thing that I really wanted to do, so that's why I entered. So the question is, what do you think are some basic video shooting and editing techniques a dancer should know about? So before we go into techniques, I think there's some basics which we should cover, and let's start with a camera. So a camera has two main components. One is the lens and the other is the sensor. The lens delivers the light to the sensor and the sensor records the image. There are different types of lenses, like a telephoto lens or a zoom lens or a wide angle lens, but they basically differ in their So a wide angle lens is usually 18 to 36 a tele lens or a zoom lens is usually from 70, can be from 70 to 200 50 is also another favorite, and each of these different lenses give you a different result. So based on your need, you choose your lens. There are many different types of sensors as well, and they give you again different results depending on the configuration of the sensor, but the combination of both the lens and the sensor is what gives you your image or video. So these are two basics. Now cameras, professional cameras have better sensors and give you the option of interchangeable lenses, and they give you more control over the functioning of the camera, which ultimately does give you better quality. Cell phones, which are pretty much the staple of shooting today, especially for people who are at home. The sensor of a cell phone is extremely small as compared to a professional camera. So the quality will be slightly lower. But today, the cell phone camera sensor technology has progressed where they are able to deliver very good results. The lens on a cell phone camera is usually a fixed lens. You cannot replace them. You can put filters on top of them, but usually you have one lens. Now there are cell phones that give you multiple lenses, and usually they will give you a tele lens or a zoom lens and a wide angle lens, you know, so that you can get different results. And the options that are available to you over the control over the functioning of the settings of the cell phone camera are limited. Why that is also to, for one reason, is that because of the restrictions of cell phone cameras, because of their sensors and their lenses, there are internal digital processes which the image or the video is put through, which is done internally by the processor of the cell phone, and you usually have no control over them. But these processes have to be done so that for the image to look good. So the the comparison between the two is that professional cameras give you more control, better quality, but are more expensive, and cell phone cameras can give you good quality video which looks very good at a much lesser price point. So these are the two basic differences and the two types of cameras that you will be using. Now speaking specifically for dancers, and I will focus on the cell phone cameras. Usually the factory setting camera apps that you have on cell phones give you a few options to play around with, and those options usually are your frame size, SD, standard definition footage, high definition footage, full high definition footage, and then ultra high definition, and so on and so forth. And they all have a certain frame size. So you have SD footage, which is usually around 720 by 480. You have HD, which is 1280 by 720. You have full HD, which is 1920 by 1080, which is the most popular. Then you have 2K, which is 2048 1080. Then you have 4K, which is 4096 2540. So this is basically your frame size, and it quite literally is, literally a size. So you can see the difference between the frame sizes here. Another control that is usually there is FPS. Now these are frames per second, the amount of individual frames that will be in each. And the general rule on FPS is the faster the motion that you are recording. So for dance, one should try not to go below 30 FPS. 50-60 FPS is the best, because lower FPS leads to severe motion blur during fast movement. But there is another problem with cell phones, and that is that almost all cell phones give you what is a variable FPS. Now what happens there is that you might choose 30 FPS in your cell phone camera inside your camera app, but in reality, because of the restrictions of the cell phone camera sensor and processing power, the frame rate will vary. That means it will not stay constant at 30. It might go as low as 25, and it might go as high as 31. And unfortunately, you have no control over this. One problem that may occur is that when you take that footage into a editing software, you will experience a off sync on the visual and the audio, and that happens because the software in its own calculation tries to correct that variation in FPS on its own, So a simple solution to this is to convert your footage, and the same kind of converters that you use for making a video into an MP3, the same sort of converter would be used to do this. But here you set the frame rate. You tell the conversion software that you want this footage to have a consistent FPS of 30 frames per second. And when you convert it, the software will, using its own calculations, sort of fill in the missing frames per second. So then when you transfer that converted clip into your editing software, you will find that this desync will not happen. Other controls that will also be available will be shutter speed, aperture, ISO, color temperature. Now these again have different, each one will affect your footage in a different way. Shutter speed is usually for fast movement. So whenever for dance, one should generally use a higher shutter speed. Aperture is got to do with light. So taking your aperture too high or too low can also sometimes have a undesired result. So one should always check before you shoot your final video. Another option that is available to you is ISO. The ISO is essentially the camera's sensitivity towards light. So if you have a lot of light available, you would probably want to keep your ISO at a lower number. If you have very little light available, your ISO will be a higher number. But it is generally advisable to use a low to mid ISO, 200 to about 500 for video, especially cell phone videos, especially in changing environments where your light is constantly changing. It is good to stick with a lower ISO, because higher ISOs can sometimes lead to grain in your footage, which can be very distracting to the eye. So one should definitely open and check all the settings that are available in your camera app. Another simple rule or advice I would give is, if you're shooting at home, and when you are shooting at home, use as much light as you can. Tube lights are generally not advisable. Bulbs and LED bulbs are better. And if it is convenient for you, buying a LED light is also a good option. They're not too expensive, and they really solve a lot of your problems, because they can act as a flood so that everything is lit. You know, your background's also lit, you are also lit while you're performing. But having said that, the torches and flashes on some of the cell phone cameras are powerful enough to fill the role of lights on your set. So don't shy away. If you have a cell phone with a good torch light or a good flash, use it. They can be very handy. But the idea should be that you have as much light as possible. At some point in time, you will probably have to edit. There are many free apps available, but the better ones are paid. There are a lot of editing apps which are available within the phone and make it very easy for you with a simplified GUI and functions. It will be good to learn at least one good editing software or app. Another thing which is a little technical is codecs and containers. So you will often see names like AVC1, H.265, H.264. Now these are all codecs. Codecs are basically a code in which the image is stored. The sensor data, your camera sensor data, is stored. Containers are MP4, AVI, QuickTime, 3GP. So the container basically stores the codec. You have your codec, which stores your image data, and you have a container which contains that codec. So you will always have a file in which will be an MP4 or an AVI or a QuickTime file. But the codec that it uses or will be H.264, AVC1 or many of the others. So when you render out your footage, you will be asked which codec and which container would you like to save this in. So this is something that one should know what codecs and containers are. So these are a few things that one should know about, because this will help you understand what the camera, your professional camera or your cell phone camera, is doing while you're shooting on it. Is it important to have a basic knowledge of stage lights for video shooting and editing? And do the lights affect the outcome of the final product? So stage and film lighting are different, but the purpose of lighting is the same: to illuminate the subject. There is always an issue when it comes to lights and shooting dance on stage, because stage lights tend to be very harsh and they change constantly depending on the mood of the performance. The good thing here for cell phones is that the internal process of your cell phone, which I spoke about earlier, will compensate for this constant change in light. So if you keep your cell phone on auto settings, it will compensate by changing the settings when the light goes up or when the light comes down. Professional cameras, and I know all my cameramen have some of their most scared moments behind the camera while shooting dance performances. So professional cameras give you trouble when the light constantly changes, because changing the settings on these professional cameras fast is not, it's not a single button process. A certain amount of prior knowledge about the show is good to have. Speaking to the light designer and understanding from him how the lights will move or change can sometimes help in improving your camera settings, but that is something that one has to watch out for, because if the camera sensor hits a white spot where the light is blown out, or hits a dark spot, if there is no light reaching the sensor, and the pixel, which is the smallest component of your frame, if the pixel is white or black, there is nothing you can do about that. Images that are blown out or images that are too dark usually cannot be changed. There is nothing you can do to correct that. There is a way out in professional cameras, in a professional setup. Protect your footage from the variation in the light, and that is usually to shoot raw or log encoded footage. But the issue with raw or log encoded footage is that it has to go through some form of color correction. It cannot be used straight out of the camera. But even with raw or log encoded footage, if the pixel has burnt out or is in dark, there is nothing you can do about it in post. So overexposure and underexposure you have to watch out for. At home, the best option for lighting would be to use a single floodlight if you have it, or like I said, use as many lights as you can. One recommendation that I can give is not to put any strong light in front of the camera. That means behind you. If you are performing and the camera is in front of you, there should not be a strong light source behind you. Everything should come from the front, because that can sometimes cause flares on your lens or darken your entire image. Suggest a few names of the different type of cameras. How important are angles, positions of the camera, etc. in being able to get the best possible outcome of a performance? So in principle, the more camera angles the more interesting the visual experience becomes. And the general rule is to have one main camera which covers the entire stage, which is usually on a wide lens. Have one camera on either the left side or the right side of the stage, which will usually have a zoom lens on it, so that we have a closer angle to the dancer. And then a third camera which is also on a zoom lens, but is usually handheld and is right up at the stage. And this is a moving camera. It can move from left to right, come to the center. This standard setup will give you a much more interesting and make it more visually appealing. Being able to look at the hand gestures of the dancer, look at the foot movement of the dancer, have a closer view of the dancer, and constantly changing and constantly shifting between wide, mid and close will make viewing the dance performance much more entertaining and immersive. The thing to watch out in a live performance is to have your stationary cameras on tripods that have a fluid head. Most of the lesser expensive tripods are tripods for still photography. For video photography, for the movement of pan and tilt to be smooth, there is a specific sort of tripod head which is known as a fluid head. That is essential for stationary cameras while shooting a dance performance. At home, it could be as simple as asking a friend to come with their cell phone or using a parent's cell phone. It'll be very easy to set up multiple camera angles. As we see, video editing has evolved and many don't know what happens at the background. Give some insight as to how videos are edited and processes like color correction, sound correction, etc. So, like I've said before, it is at some point in time you will reach a limit on how much you can do on your phone. And editing software is a must if you want to produce good video. Now they come in varied packages. Some are extremely complicated, some are very simple, but they all basically have the same setup. They will all have some sort of timeline. They will all have some sort of bin or project bin where you store and accumulate all your footage. They will have a toolbar. They will have a output monitor, which is what the final output, what the final image will be, and a source monitor for you to view and select footage from. Now for most projects, there is often a need to color correct or color grade. Here we not only correct brightness, saturation, but we are also able to enhance certain colors. Dance performances and light direction in dance performances can be very colorful and bright, and we can further enhance those colors through the color correction process. Simple color correction of brightness, contrast, saturation is also available in most editing softwares. One thing to remember is that the better the quality of footage, the better the final output from the editing software will be. And the same goes for color correction. Color correction actually is not possible on footage, or does not have that kind of effect on footage that is not either shot on RAW or is log encoded. And there are dedicated color correction softwares that are available, but these can be complicated. A lot of color correction softwares now are also have editing functions in them. So it is very important to learn at least one software, because if you do want to create content, ultimately you are going to have to invest in a good editing and post-production software. Is there any other information you feel dancers should know about video editing and shooting? I don't think that there's any more I would like to. I think this is complicated enough already. But I would like to add a few things. One, I think, has got to do with the transfer of footage. WhatsApp basically, through its own internal processes, downgrades footage. So it is always better to use Google Drive or any other file transfer software or app, because they preserve the quality of your footage. Another thing I would like to say is that if you are recording a performance at your house and you're playing music on a separate recorder, if you can have the original studio recorded sound laid back onto your video track, you will get better results. Sometimes the need to have the recording, the sound of the gungroos and the footwork is important, but the original studio recording should also be added to the sound of the video clip. Again, this will only be possible in a editing software. So please do try to at least learn at least one editing software. And learning all this is also very easy today. It is not complicated. A simple search on YouTube can get you started. And there are also free online courses that are available. Many have made entire courses on YouTube, and they are free for everyone to watch and learn from. So please do. Another thing I would like to talk about is the rule of thirds. This is simply, you take your screen and you divide it into 9 parts. Where the lines intersect are known as magic points. Try that you stay within these 4 magic points. If you ever have to sit and give a interview, you are recording while you talk, try to place yourself at one of the top points. You will find that instinctively you will follow this rule. It is a part of film aesthetics which is taught in film school, but I have seen people using this even without knowing about it, because it makes your image aesthetically pleasing. I hope this talk by me was helpful, and I hope to see many more dancers creating their own content. I would like to thank Utsav for the opportunity to speak, and I wish them success on the 15th anniversary of Saare Jahan Se Accha. Thank you.
Thank you, Sidharth, for your talk on video recording and video editing for dance. We now have for you Odissi by Gaurie Diwedi. Gaurie received initial training in Odissi by Guru Srimati Ipshita Behura and is now a disciple of Srimati Sujata Mohapatra. Over the years, she has made her presence felt in the field of dance. She has performed at prestigious festivals both in the country and abroad. She has also learned Bharatanatyam from the legendary Guru, Srimati Yamini Krishnamurti. She is an impaneled artist with Doordarshan. Gaurie is also a columnist with the Times of India and the Sunday Guardian.
Namaskar. I would like to thank Padmashree Ranjana Gauhar for doing such a beautiful festival, Saare Jahan Se Accha. It's a very beautiful festival because she has given the platform to the younger generation and to the senior artists all over the India. She is invited, and I have seen the festival, and I wish her a grand success. One of my students, Gaurie Diwedi-Odissi, this time is going to perform as a solo. So I wish her grand success, and also all the participants, whoever is participating this time, because this is a situation, pandemic situation of the world, where still she is organizing this festival. So I wish her beautiful way of presenting this festival once again. Thank you. Gaurie Diwedi is one of my disciples who has been learning several years with me. I'm very happy and I congratulate her that she has got this opportunity to perform in Saare Jahan Se Accha. This festival is organized by Padmashree Ranjana Gauhar. I also thank Ranjana ji for giving her an opportunity to perform in your festival. And also, I feel that she is talented and a great devotee, and definitely she will do her level best and to make this festival more beautiful. Thank you.
Today Gaurie will perform two short pieces. The first is an invocation to the Hindu trinity of gods, Lord Brahma, the creator, Lord Vishnu, the preserver, and Lord Shiva, the destroyer of all evil. Choreography is by Guru Ratikant Mahapatra.
Hari Om, 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 Hari Om. Gurave रामा
Next is an Ashtapadi from the Geet Govind, Hari Riha Mugda, a very popular choreography of Guru Kelucharan Mahapatra. It is in Rag Shankara Bharanam, set to Ek Tali.
Hari Riha Mugda Badhu करे हरि रिह मुक्त बधु निकरे विलासाति विलासिनी केली परे विलासाति विलासिनी विलासाति विलासिनी विलासाति विलासिनी केली परे विलासाति विलासिनी केली परे विलासाति विलासिनी विलासाति विलासिनी विलासाति विलासिनी केली परे चंदन चर्चित नीला कलेवर पीतावसन वनमाली चंदन चर्चित नीला कलेवर चंदन चर्चित नील कलेवर पीतावसन वनमाली केली चलन्मणि कुण्डल माण्डिता केली चलन्मणि कुण्डल माण्डिता गङ्गायुग स्मित शाली गङ्गायुग स्मित शाली हरि रिह मुक्त बधु निकरे विलासाति विलासिनी केली परे चंदन चर्चित नील कलेवर पीतावसन वनमाली पीना पयोधर भार भरेण कालिता कला सोनवंशे करताल ताल तराल बलयावली कालिता कला सोनवंशे करताल ताल तराल बलयावली कालिता कला सोनवंशे करताल ताल तराल बलयावली कालिता कला सोनवंशे रास रसे सह नृत्यपरा हरिणा युवती प्रशंसंसे रास रसे सह नृत्यपरा हरिणा युवती प्रशंसंसे बधू करे विलासाते विलासिनी केली परे चंदन चर्चित नीलकले वर पीता वसन वन माली
Wow, wasn't that amazing? They have filled our hearts with joy and new ideas and enriched us in a way that is difficult to forget them. I thank them all for their support and beautiful performances.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now conclude this evening's program. Tomorrow we have for you dance drama Chandrabhaga by Utsav. Well-known light designer Shri Sandeep Datta will talk about basic knowledge of stage lights for dance, followed by Odissi by Debashish Patnaik. On behalf of Guru Ranjana Gauhar and Utsav, I thank you all for being with us. We hope to see you again tomorrow evening at 7. Until then, good night and namaskar.